Before we get started with today's conversation with my guest, North Carolina Music Hall of Famer David Childers, I'd like to put a plug in for my Patreon page, patreon.com/Drunken Prayer. These episodes are coming out every 2 weeks, and members of our Patreon page get them a week early. Now, you can join for as little as $1 a month, which puts the episodes at 50 cents a piece, if my math is correct. I'd love to know if these conversations have some value to you and that it's something I should keep doing. I'd rather be an open bag of potato chips than a force-feeding tube. If you're interested in the kind of things I create, you're going to find a lot of that over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Drunken Prayer. And if you can't afford it, obviously don't sweat it. A lot of us cannot. The person who is paying for these podcasts is paying for you to listen for free. No ads, buy local, stick it to the man. Everybody wins. Plus, you get a free sticker when you subscribe. I mean, if that doesn't do it, I don't know what to tell you. Patreon.com/Drunken Prayer. Support the artists that you love directly when you can, either going to shows or through things like Patreon or Substack. And thanks again for listening. I'm glad you're here.
I wish more people were here.
And now let's welcome to the witness stand, lawyer, poet, football star, songwriter, mentor, musician, North Carolina Music Hall of Famer, and in the Hall of Fame of my heart,
his cold eyes blaze with anger. His beard is white as bone. His parents both were drunkards. They never told him thanks. They didn't come to meet him after he robbed his first bank. He had to fight to prove his name.
My name is David Childers. My date of birth is August 14th, 1951.
You're still in Mount Holly, right?
Oh, yeah, I ain't leaving here. I love where I live.
Yeah. The few times I've come out there, it's mainly been home visits. We haven't really explored that much. You're from Gastonia, right?
No, I'm from Mount Holly. I grew up, or my parents tried to raise me about a mile from where I am right now.
Where else have you lived?
Well, I went off to military school in Waynesboro, Virginia when I was 16, and I was there for most of the time for 2 years, and then I went to Chapel Hill for 4 years, and miraculously managed to graduate in that time, and then came back here for about another year, and then went to Greensboro and went to graduate school, got an MFA in creative writing. Then went down to Wilmington for about 7 or 8 months. Robert, my drummer, was born there. He's also my son. And then we went to Shelby for exactly a year. I was in the visiting artist program there. And I just kind of came to the realization that I had a son and a family, and I needed to find a better way to make a living than getting Arts Council grants, and which was what I was doing. So I went to law school and lived between Bowies Creek and Lillington, North Carolina, down right on the edge of the coastal plain. Was there for 3 years, got a law degree, came in and wound up passing the bar again miraculously, and wound up back in Mount Holly in 1981, and I've been here ever since, right on the outskirts of Charlotte, North Carolina.
I just took Krista to see the new Elvis concert movie. It is the second time for me and the first time for her to see it. And she's a fan enough, enough that we don't argue too much about it. But I've loved Elvis since I was little, and so a lot of the footage was I'd kind of seen before, and it took me the second time before it really kind of hit home of how magnificent the film was, and also just remembering just like Elvis in general. But I was there every once in a while. I would get a kind of a look in his eye of recognition on my side. It's just like there's like a weird kinship that I imagine more unscrupulous people use towards just like starting cults and, and stuff like that, where you're able to kind of like connect with people on kind of a deeper level without having any kind of words. I get it a lot from music, but also every once in a while, just people, to where it gives you, it gives credence to the idea of past lives and old souls and things like that. And it's crazy.
I've got this nephew, his name's Max, which was my dad's name, and it's my brother's name. And Max is like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. And one day he saw a picture of my dad. And he said, I remember when that picture was taken. He said, I had a real happy life. I had 2 boys and a girl, that's how it was, is my sister, my brother, and I. And he said, and then one day I got on this big old elevator and I rode up real high, and I met Jesus when I got off of it. And we talked a while, and then I went to sleep and I woke up here. It's kind of eerie, but
wow.
At the same time, I looked at the boy. He looks a lot like my dad. And
really?
So yeah, I mean, and I've been, I've like Thomas Wolfe, I think said right before he died, he said he had seen the dark man, and it didn't scare him too much. And I've kind of had that similar experience in the last few years. So I've been very interested in near-death experiences, and and then it's taken me into Buddhist philosophy. Strangely enough, like I started getting into that right before the peace walkers, the guys walking for peace came through, and the
monks. Yeah, we went out and
Did you go see them?
Yeah, we did. We took Leon. We gave him some flowers and some bananas, and we stood out in the cold it was inspiring. When we first got there, it was like maybe 4 people. It was a little miserable, just side of the road, middle of the Piedmont. But by the time they got there, there was hundreds of people there, everybody with flowers and nobody really talking. It was kind of solemn, but there they are with their little dog just walking through. The whole thing took maybe 5 minutes, and it's like I've got goosebumps now just thinking about it. I remember.
That's great, man. I'm glad y'all were there. I never got the opportunity. I wish I had, but so a loco was with them then, the dog.
Oh, right, the dog. Yeah, he was with them. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it was
no. That would have
it's kind of a blur.
When they got to Rock Hill, I think it's Rock Hill. He wound up going down to the medical college at Charleston veterinary school. They did some work on his leg. He'd had an injury, and so he would have been with them at that point. That's great.
I remember that coming up. The whole thing was almost, my family's down around Gulf Coast, and so we got a lot of experience with Mardi Gras, and it had that kind of feel, obviously not with like throwing moon pies and stuff, but this kind of expectation for this thing that's about to happen, that there's an awesomeness to it in the literal sense, in that, like with Mardi Gras, obviously it's the effort that goes into it, and like look what we as animals on this earth do to celebrate just purely being alive.
Right.
But the monks are doing the same thing, and it's like they weren't there. They were there as more of a warning but also a celebration of life as well.
Well, they did us all good, and Christians and most of the people out there to greet them were Christians, or coming from the Christian tradition. And of course, there were a few assholes that wanted to criticize them and mess with it. But if they really knew anything about Buddhist philosophy, they would recognize how much similarity there is between that and Christianity. The main thing being the Holy Spirit, which is something that Buddhists tap into in their way, and that's what you were feeling out there, and and that's what's going on, with Mardi Gras. And anytime we celebrate life and the positive, so to me, that's the Holy Spirit working inside us. And that's something I'm trying to nurture more myself. I've taken up meditating and, and it's just opened up my life to this incredibly powerful, beautiful force. I don't understand it. I'm not even going to try to understand it because I'm not capable of it. But I know it and I feel it, and it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
it's that
ask,
common.
When I pray, I ask God to let me bring the Holy Spirit into me and let me convey it to other people. And I think that I'm doing that with my music. I certainly feel good, real good doing that now. And people seem to really come away with that. I have a lot of people tell me, like, thank you so much for doing this, because you know how fucked up things are right now. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pontificate about that. I'll let my media do that for me. But, we need positive energy.
Absolutely. And you can't, I was just thinking about that again today, how kind of futile it can be for you to worry too much about something that's going on farther away from you, either personally or maybe spiritually or psychically. You focus that energy at home, and at home, I mean your community, your immediate family, your chosen family, your neighbors, and then spiral out from there. As far as like if you truly care about changing the environment, it's like if you want to change the greater world, of course I'm not the first one to say change your smaller world, but I've found like there's a real a kind of a salve or a balm to that when you are able to make your smaller world better.
Well, that's right.
It makes the bigger one a little more easier to kind of like at least compartmentalize, if not understand.
It spreads from that. It spreads from your local to a larger community. And that's another thing I've plugged into. I got real lucky a number of years back when Avett Brothers started playing some of my songs. They've never recorded them, damn it, but they've played them a hell of a lot, and I've sold a good many downloads off of it. And but I have met some of the most wonderful people through their fan base, and it's a nationwide and sometimes worldwide community of people, and 95% of them I feel like are on the same wavelength that I am and that my family is. But see, and the day after the 2024 election, I was not happy with the result. And Linda and I were sitting here the morning after, and Robert showed up, our son, and we were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? And he said, we're going to build a community. I mean, he just said to me, we're going to build a community. So we're going to raise food. We're going to nurture each other. We're going to support each other. We're going to do art. We're going to make music. And we're going to share this community with people. And that's exactly where I have found myself now, a year and a half later, where it's just a great bunch of folks that I've been plugged into, and maybe you have yourself. I mean, what you're saying is what I have experienced in the last year and a half. And it's kept me, it's been some rough times, but I just, I'm always reminding Linda, like, you can't give up. You can't surrender to negativity. And I refuse to.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. Chris and I talk about just, and it seems like a kind of a trope about the power of positivity, but it's no joke, and it's of course you have to feel it. I mean, the tail can't be wagging the dog. So to get to that place is something. Whatever you have to do to get that place, you can't really force a square peg in there, but whatever you have to do to get, even if it's just force yourself to smile every once in a while, it's gonna help you out a little bit. But like, You don't have to have a brush with death to come to these epiphanies about priorities and just like seeing the joy of life. But I imagine it's could be a silver lining.
Oh God,
You've
yeah.
always been a fairly spiritual person anyway.
Well, yeah, I guess I knew, that trials and tribulations were coming. So, yeah, I've tried to prepare myself. I guess, I don't know, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you another thing. I did. You just reminded me of this. Is like back in, I think it was July. Linda and I went to a No Kings March, and we knew Charlotte would probably be big, so we found a smaller town. We went to Shelby, North Carolina, which is a pretty red place. And man, there were like 400 people there. And we were raising hell and just having the greatest time. It was like a pep rally for a football game. And there were very few counter protesters. In fact, the ones that showed up, they were riding around there was a couple of teenage punks riding around in a pickup truck giving us the finger, and we kind of ran him off. And there's some guy.
Right. Yeah. I almost be disappointed if there was.
They were in their truck. There was one guy came up with a camera, and he was wanting to ask questions, and we just shut him down real fast.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I left, and I hate to admit it, but I had some trepidation and fear about going.
Sure.
Because at that time I was using a walker, and if I had to fight, I would have done my best. But I've walked away from a few fights, and I've jumped into a few in my life, and you never know what's going to happen when the ball starts rolling. But I thought about my dad. All the sacrifices been made for this country. I was inspired by it.
Yeah. Well, it's not hard to think about the sacrifices that have been made for fighting this kind of thing, just in general, and that it was. And you look back and you think it's like, oh, they were fighting for the present, not necessarily for the future, and it's our job to fight for the present and our offspring to fight for their present, and they have to see us fighting in the first place, because if you've never known a reality that could be better, it's hard to imagine one that you could also create.
Yeah, we have to recreate it. We have to keep recreating it, and it's again, like over the last several years, it's been being recreated into like this mutant, monstrous, almost unrecognizable thing, and it's not what I think it ought to be. And I think more people are coming to that conclusion. I mean, I mean, a year and a half ago, this was a pretty happy place. Where I know prices were kind of high, but we had come out of this thing called COVID, which just shut everything down. I mean, people forgot about that, and we were still on the rebound. I'm not, there were stupid things done, I'm sure, mistakes made, but if we get a chance to remake it, we really got to be serious about remaking this nation, which I love. I mean, this nation, this country has been really good to me, and I understand the sacrifices that have been made, going all the way back to the 18th century, to these guys that got their asses, went out on Lexington Green and started shooting. I'm not necessarily saying, I'm ready to do that. I don't want to, but I know a lot of people that are ready to go. And I hope the hell it never comes to that. But, if that has to happen, it's got to happen. But I think first, we got a chance in November to start changing things. And if we get that chance, we better take advantage of it and not fuck up.
I can't wait till the time where we can step back and look through the the glass of history and see it for what it is, and that we have so much more in common than we do apart. And the things that are not in common are not worth tearing our society over, our families apart. But I think one small thing that we can do, and I've seen you do it, and you've been an inspiration for me, is going out and playing music to all types of people. Now I've found it. So my last record was all gospel music. And I'm playing them in dive bars, like full on like anarchists. They're loving it. And then I'm also playing in Birmingham for actual preachers and deacons and stuff, and they're loving it. And all I can think of is that on one small level, I was a conduit. I was a little piece of glue between those two, for lack of a better word, demographics. Going to other parts of the country where they just expect you to come from this monolithic Southern culture, and especially playing gospel music, and on a personal one-to-one level is helping to heal just a little bit.
That is, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And that's coincidentally the last record I've involved in is a record that Robert and the Serpents and I did with Abe Partridge, who's was a Pentecostal preacher. And I don't know if you know about Abe, but and it's all gospel. Some of it
I love Abe Partridge.
Yeah,
he's got a podcast, Alabama Astronaut, where he goes and he. It's fantastic. Where anybody who hasn't heard it, and you like kind of like what we're talking about, run, don't walk to that podcast. He gets into the snake handling churches and everything, and it's unironic. But it's hilarious. He's a thoughtful guy. But go ahead. I'd really like to know what you did with him.
Most unpretentious, genuine, honest, decent, and yet extremely interesting guys. I mean, I from the minute I met him, it was like my brother was here, who's I'm very close to, and we're just like, dude, this guy is extremely special, and
yeah.
I'm really glad that I've gotten to know him, as I am with you. I mean, you're the same kind of guy. You know, we've done a few miles together, going up.
That's very kind.
Playing the gospel music.
Say it again.
Take it everywhere, man. I mean, I don't swallow, the Bible just whole without, seeing some of the bullshit in it sometimes, but. If you read the book of Matthew in the New Testament, the Sermon on the Mount, hell, it's all there. I mean, the way we should be treating each other and behaving, it's all there. And I don't understand churches because I don't even go to church anymore. I'm an Episcopalian, which is, sort of like Catholic light, but it has a lot of room for thought in it. But it's just something. There's just something corrupt about religion to me now that puts me off. And there's too many like Joel Osteens, and I see it on a smaller level. You see these guys, like Ernest Ainsley. Hell, he came from where I am. If you know anything about him, he's a pervert.
Let me put this by you. I was talking to my friend Bobby Matt Patton, who I've been recording with down in North Mississippi. He comes from a Pentecostal background. He's the bass player on this gospel stuff. And someone asked him about how just the nature of the music, just in general, forget about any of theosophy or anything, how like it just sounded better in the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, and how like fairly recently, 90s, it's gotten overblown and over slick and kind of gold plated. And he made what seems like the obvious observation that grew up around the mega church. And it's no coincidence that the artifice that surrounds the kind of spine or lack that's in there is going to be reflected in what it looks, sounds, and tastes like.
Right. It's like going to a Coliseum show, like you're going to a music show. You're going to be entertained. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man. That's not the way. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I'm repulsed by it. And I know
No,
people that go to church. There were some really good folks, and I care a lot about them. But you know,
mhm.
you talking about this division. If I just um, recently there was a venue around here that I would not play at anymore because of politics, and these were people I loved a lot. And on the day before Thanksgiving, I ran into their daughter, people running, and she came up and gave me a big old hug. And I know what her politics are, and they're not mine. But at that very moment, her mom was in the corner. But I left, and I came back and said, "I'm gonna come back here and play." And I'm gonna come back and play, and I did recently, and it was just so sweet to go back there, reconnect with these people, share the songs, and share a bunch of love. And
Mhm.
I can't tell you how good that felt. And
Well, I
and
think
there's a lot. I've
sometimes,
lost a lot of friends, man. I've lost a hell of a lot of friends over politics, and it breaks my heart. But and
mhm,
some of them I'm starting to kind of come back to, and I'd like to
yeah.
come back to more of them eventually. Because it used
Well,
to not
it's it.
matter. I remember playing a gig in Charlotte, the 2000 election, and it was Gore versus W. Bush, and there, they had the TV on. It was just in the back, and we were all kind of keeping up. And there was Bush supporters and Gore supporters, but we were all friends, man. And it didn't matter who won that election. We were still going to be friends, and we would argue about stuff and disagree, but there's less of that, and there needs to be more. It's just kind of hard though when the amount of hatred that's generated, and I'll just go out on a limb. I don't think it's come from our side as much as it has from Trump, who is
Yeah.
a completely soulless person that doesn't believe in anything other than power and money, gold. It's just gold. I like gold, and
Yeah.
it's evil. It's just extremely evil.
It is, and and I don't want to go too far out on a limb though, but I've always been fascinated with the church and the stories before I even had a very deep understanding about what was going on. And one of the most fascinating characters in Bible myth lore is the Antichrist. And so I grew up thinking always on the lookout. I would get any description I could find. I was like, all right, make a mental note. They're going to be 6 feet tall, or they're going to be 42 years old. I don't remember all the specifics, but a lot of it matches. If I was the type of person that was a card carrying, just full literalist of the Bible, I'd be a little taken aback by what I was seeing. It doesn't take a college education to sit back and look and just this guy kind of fits all the.
Well,
He checks off a lot of boxes.
She's saying he's the Antichrist. There's no doubt.
Literally the Antichrist. Yeah. which tells you where we're at as a society.
It may be that the Antichrist is more us. It's a part of us. It's who the hell knows? I mean, when you read the Bible, there's been rewritten and reinterpreted and manipulated historically, just for thousands of years by now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you struck a nerve with me when you said it's us, because to me, given the opportunity and the context, it is us. We share a common thread with each other, and we're only seeing a tip of the iceberg when we see the person that's walking around on Earth. We don't necessarily know the OG soul that decided to embody this character, but that that common thread is where we find empathy. It's where you find that the hate for the sin and not the sinner. And that I would hope the best outcome is that someone like him gets turned around, sees the evil of their ways, and spends the rest of their life trying to make things better and repair what they've done. Now, obviously, that's utopian,
Well,
and
it
maybe
can
even
happen,
naive.
man.
But
It can happen.
but there are worse uses for your imagination than imagining the best in people,
Well,
even the
that's
worst
right.
that we
And,
know.
and you know, I pray for Trump. I'm like Nancy Pelosi said, but I really do, because I mean, I don't hate the guy. I just feel like I almost feel sorry for him. It's pathetic. I mean, he's so
Absolutely.
pathetic.
on
But
on a spectacular level too. It's just like, this is, you know, I feel sorry for him on a lot of levels, and it doesn't mean you have any less sympathy for the people that are being affected by him. But it's like
it'll be,
he's like the most messed up person
yeah,
ever.
he's sick. I mean, he's physically
He's broke.
sick. And as an old guy, you know, I'm not the young buck I used to be. You know, I'm slowed down. But I mean, he's worse than I am, and to have that much dishonesty and hate and spite in you, it must be a really hard thing to bear. But you know, George Wallace, who I know you're familiar with, and he was a big figure
Yeah.
when I was a younger guy. He changed. He regretted all that racist stuff he generated. And you know, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe it's too little, too late, but at least he did admit that he was wrong.
But if you can manage to turn your transgressions into a tool for good, then I'm not sure it's gonna make it all worth it. But if you can become your own example to your own point, but it's like, look at that guy, look at all the terrible things I did, and that I'm telling you, if you agree with that guy, well, that guy is standing in front of you now saying he was wrong. If you're going to believe one person, you're going to believe George Wallace. I mean, you're not going to talk a lot of people out of hate, but at least you can be an avatar for changing your ways with some sense of, without being just humiliated in the process, which I'm for humiliating racists and Nazis, but to change people's minds and not just take them out. It's to bring them in and not exclude them, give them a way out of their kind of like dark mindset where they can still hold their head up and be just like, yeah, those were some scumbag ideas I had, but I'm better and I can walk proudly. You know, you see what I'm saying?
I mean, listen, I got a lot of things I'm not proud of, and I don't dwell on it like I used to, but it's like Jesus said, whenever he came on this group of people stoning a woman or getting ready to, and he said, well, he who is without fault cast the first stone. And, you know, that's the way I look at it. Hell, we all fuck up. You know, I've done just things I don't even want to talk about. It's, especially when I was drinking.
And working through those kind of things, you don't really know what you are till you figure out what you are not. If you can turn things you'd rather not do again from regrets into lessons, well then, you know, there's currency in that. There's gravitas to that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it's all
So
about.
are you gigging much these days?
I'm gigging all I can. I did 4 this past week, and I'm just having a gas. I'm having the best time I've ever had playing music.
Now, one thing I love about like just what you do it in general is like you're in the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
it was totally took me.
Well, I mean, it's not. Well, that's not amazing. What's amazing to me is that you still play and seem to enjoy playing, like in the corner of a room in a brewery with people that are halfway paying attention or not. You know, that doesn't seem that
No,
you don't have an ego like tied up into that kind of thing. Like you'll still haul a PA down to the down to foothills or something and play for 3 hours.
Actually, I'm going to be playing there in April. It's the first time in a while. Actually, as far as the PA and the hard work, the Serpents have stuck with me. Robert and Corey and Jeff and Dale and David Niblock. He comes in sometime. We picked up a percussionist, Davey Blackburn, and these guys, you know, they help me out, and I'm starting to do more of the heavy lifting, but you know, I pretty much just show up now, you know, get my guitar and you know, start playing and singing and, you know, sell merch. And hey, look, man, I was in a nursing home for almost a month. I couldn't walk. I had an OD'd on chemotherapy, and the day after Thanksgiving, I left here in an ambulance, and I didn't come back until 2 days before Christmas, and I had to learn how to walk again, and which I got back. You know, I went through. I had this therapy, and God, it was kind of a beautiful experience in a way, because I did a lot of art while I was in this rest home. I had this rest home. I had this room all myself, and Linda started bringing my painting stuff over, and I'd paint stuff, and I was selling it on Facebook. And we made a lot of money. And then they started getting me in therapy, and that was like, I was kind of a gym rat when I was younger. I was always playing sports, and that was reminding me, you know, when I was a kid, I'd be hanging out at the workout place every day. You know, when's my turn? When do I get to come? And but you know, I couldn't play, and I had to relearn how to play the guitar because my hands were all messed up. And we did this show. It was a benefit for St. Jude's that we do every year, and I managed to play that. It was, you know, about less than a month after I'd gotten back, and but you know, I had like some extra players like from Brookbeat. Tony on saxophone, and Johnny Boswell and Cody Gentry and all, and man, we put on a hell of a show. And then it was probably about 6 months where I started getting back into it again. I didn't mean to go on for long, but you know, I didn't think I'd be doing it again. That's what I'm telling you. And it's a gift. Well, it's a gift from God, and I'm just grateful to go play. I mostly keep it around, you know, the Charlotte area. Hendersonville, I go there because they ask me to, and I love playing. Yeah. Book me, I'll come play.
It's inspiring to me how much just pure joy you get out of playing music, playing live, interacting with people.
At this stage of my life, I firmly believe it's what God wants me to do. You can take that or leave it. Whatever God is, it's my purpose in this life that I have left is to make music, make people happy, bring people together in a joyous way. That's it.
Yeah. Not much more to it than that.
Well, and paint some pictures.
Those dangerous brushes with mortality and just reality in general. I had a really bad car crash coming out of high school at a time when I was just starting to get my sea legs as figuring out, it's like, you know, I kind of have something here with music. It's I can see that it's easier for me than other people, and that I've got a drive to do it. But at the same time, getting out of high school, I'm thinking like I was going to law school. That was the whole plan. And then I had a kind of a catastrophic car wreck where I flipped a Volkswagen over and over and over again. I had smashed up my face and everything. And was like, no, it was that. There was it was a Carmagia, it was a 68 with a 1300 cc. Man, that thing would fly. It was over by Warren Wilson where I lived, but I figured out pretty much from then on, I was like, I think I'm going to be a musician because I don't want to do paperwork for the rest of my life.
Well, that was a blessing.
But those haven't. having those kind of shocks and kind of like what seemed like very negative things at the time is if we were talking about the positivity and kind of like you have to remind yourself to find the silver linings in life and what might be a springboard, and that this isn't the end game. This wreck is going to kind of like form the rest of your life in an extremely positive and unlikely way, because no one's going to say like this is a great career decision. But here we are,
No, that's not a yeah, I didn't know that happened to you, man. I'm sorry that did, but if it opened your mind and enlightened you, then I guess it was
oh, it's one of the best things ever happened to me by far.
That's
And
weird.
so, yeah,
I tell you, from the minute I found out I had cancer, I haven't ever been afraid. And Linda was falling apart. We were in the emergency room, and this doctor came in. He told me what all was going on, and I immediately was like, well, I'm turning this over to God. And if He wants me to live, then I will, and I'll just follow this course. And that's kind of been my attitude the whole. I'm not afraid of dying. I mean, I don't want to leave the life because I love my life. I mean, I'm really having probably the best time of life I've ever had. But when the time comes, I'll transition, and because I don't even believe in death anymore. I believe it's a transition. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, but I just don't live with that fear, and which I think too many people do.
The idea of death is always like, it's not even the 600-pound gorilla in the room. It's like, think about it all the time, just because it's so interesting too. Ghosts and other realities, or even just absolutely nothing. Like all of that is pretty interesting. And I thought for the first days, like I hadn't been thinking about it that much because I feel pretty grounded about the whole thing. I remember it was George Harrison talking about what a shame about John Lennon being assassinated. Mainly because he didn't have a chance to prepare himself for the extraordinary experience that is death, which to be an experience, you go through it and assuming that part of you is still on the other side, but that he had spent the greater part of his spiritual life preparing for death. Kind of liberates you to have a better time in life and kind of have fun with the sandbox that we've been born into.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I feel lucky to have the freedom. Now I was a lawyer for 35 years. And that was tough. That was. I look back on that. I mean, it's some of the best experiences I had, and then some of the worst experiences I ever had. Came through that time of my life. I mean, I like to think I did some good, and I tried to help people. That was what I wanted to do, and I know I failed at it sometimes, and I made some mistakes here and there, but I think I did some good stuff. But that's life. It's a mixed bag,
and failure, things like words like failure and defeat are contextual. What one person's failure, that failure might have really helped somebody out that you're never going to know about. It's like losing your keys. Well, you shouldn't have been on the road in the first place.
Well, you go back and talk about American history. We touched on a minute ago, but the Revolutionary War. Hell, Americans or colonists lost most of the battles they fought in that war, but they would always escape, reform and come back, and just as a matter of attrition, kind of like Vietnam.
Right.
And I tell Vietnam vets, like, you guys have nothing to be ashamed of. It was the circumstance you were put in. I mean, you fought your asses off, and I know you did your best, but you were put in an impossible situation. Just like those British soldiers, like our soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, or like the Russians in Ukraine. I mean, they didn't expect what happened, but my point is, like, you can lose on small battles, but if you are still standing, you're going to have a chance to win somewhere down the road.
I'm glad to know you're out there.
Well, you bring out the worst in me, so I'm just kidding.
That's good.
You bring out the best in me, and we've had a lot, and I hope we do some more, and I hope we can maybe hook up and make some music together. We're free to rip each other off any way we can.
Oh man,
it's about the fucking music, man. It's not about us or royalty checks or any of that shit. It's about creating music for people to listen to and feel something good. Hopefully something good, whether it's inspiring or I don't know. It's just that's what matters to me. I make my money at live gigs, and I've got a lot of records out there, and I've had my shit played on the radio and even in a movie or two. But none of that really matters as much as what I see when I go out there and play in front of a group of people, no matter how big it is. I've played in front of thousands, up to 15,000 people, and then, rooms with 3 or 4 people. Sometimes none of them even listen. But, we go out and do it, and that's why you do it, because there's just a magic that we're chasing, and usually we find it if we try. If I was good tonight, it's because you were good. And we're giving the same energy back to each other. Yin and yang. Round and round. All right, that's my inspirational speech for today.
All right, my man.
And the boy. All right, bro. God bless you.
Yeah.
You too.
Look at yourself in the mirror and stop crying now.
Thanks again to North Carolina Music Hall of Famer, Mr. David Childers. You can find his music at davidchilders.com, and there you can find his new record, David Childers and the Serpents, Melancholy Angel. Support for this podcast comes from you, the listener, through my Patreon page, patreon.com/Drunken Prayer. Support the artists that you love, directly if and when you can. Thanks again for listening.
I'm Carl Castle, and this is the House of Morgan.
Oh, hell. There's a woman's face up on there.